I killed 87 men in 4 hours. They never saw me coming. My weapon wasn't a gun, it was snow itself. December 1944, Hurtgen Forest. We were surrounded, outnumbered 10-1, freezing to death. Then I remembered something my father taught me hunting deer in Iowa. Something that would turn fresh powder into a death sentence for anyone hiding in it. My name is James Aldridge, Corporal, 2nd Battalion, 22nd Infantry Regiment, 4th Infantry Division. Designated marksman, though they didn't call us snipers back then. I grew up in Iowa, hunting white-tailed deer with my father through winters that could kill you if you didn't respect them. He taught me to read snow the way some men read books. Taught me that living things leave traces, heat signatures, compression patterns, subtle changes in how ice crystals form. I thought it was just woodsman knowledge. Something you used to put venison on the table. I never imagined I'd use it to hunt men. The Hurtgen Forest. If you've heard of it, you're in the minority. It ran along the German-Belgian border, and from September 1944 to February 1945, it consumed over 33,000 American casualties. Tree bursts from artillery that shredded men from above. Minefields that swallowed entire squads. Machine gun positions so well concealed you didn't see them until you were already dead. The forest itself was the enemy. Dense, dark, freezing. We called it the meat grinder. Most men who went in didn't come out whole. By mid-December 1944, we were pushing toward the Roer River dams, strategic targets, essential for crossing into Germany's industrial heartland. But the Germans had turned the Hurtgen into a fortress. Every yard cost blood. Heavy snow started falling in the early December, adding another layer of misery. Visibility dropped to nothing. Everything slowed down. Men froze. Weapons froze. The war turned into a knife fight in a dark room. I wasn't a formal sniper. The Army hadn't fully developed that program yet, but I was the best shot in my company, so they gave me a scoped Springfield 30-06 and told me to make it count. I operated with a rifle platoon, 23 men when we started. By December 16th, we were down to 9. Lost 3 to tree bursts, 2 to mines. 4 evacuated with trench foot, so severe their boots had frozen to the flesh. 5 killed during a German probe. We were exhausted, running on cold rations and adrenaline, pushing deeper into German-held territory to locate supply routes. Platoon Sergeant Kowalski led us, a Texan with frost-bitten ears and a talent for keeping men alive. We moved at night, hid during the day, always listening. There were rumors. German Fallschirmjäger units moving through the forest like wolves. Snow-covered bodies found weeks later, throats cut. We didn't trust rumors. But we trusted the silence. The forest was too quiet. No animals, no birds. Just wind through dead trees and the crunch of boots on snow. The ridge we ended up on overlooked a valley where a dirt road cut through. Good observation point. We dug shallow scrapes behind logs, underbrush, anywhere that offered concealment. No fires, no smoking. Rations frozen solid. We sucked on D-bars until our jaws ached. Then the snow came. Light at first, then heavier. Big wet flakes that accumulated fast. Within an hour, everything was white. Beautiful. Deadly. I shared a position with a kid from Brooklyn named Danny Reese, 18 years old, always talking, always homesick. He kept asking about hunting, how you tracked animals in snow, how you stayed warm, how you knew where they were hiding. I answered patiently, the way my father had taught me, told him how fresh powder settled differently over warm ground than cold. How deer beds created slight depressions that persisted even after new snowfall. How body heat changed the crystalline structure of ice. Danny listened like a student. "You can really see that just by looking?" I nodded. "If you know what you're looking for." Kowalski crawled over, face gray with cold. "Germans are using this road heavy. Column came through 20 minutes ago. Didn't see us. More coming. We count them, mark positions, slip out after dark." He looked at me. "You see anything?" I scanned the valley through my scope. "Too much snow. Can't see anything, Sarge." He cursed. "Then we wait." Contact came fast. Movement in the trees below. 50, 60, maybe more Germans spreading out, moving uphill, weapons ready. They'd spotted something. Tracks, maybe. Or just suspected the ridge was occupied. We went dead still. The Germans started calling to each other, short, sharp commands, a coordinated sweep. They were hunting us. Kowalski whispered, "Nobody moves, nobody fires. They don't know where we are." But 3 Germans climbed straight toward my position. Close, too close, 20 feet, 15. I could hear their breathing. One of them pointed at the snow near Danny's scrape. Disturbed, uneven. He raised his rifle. I fired first. One shot, center mass. The German dropped. His squad mates opened up. Bursts of machine pistol fire, wild, panicked. Danny returned fire. Kowalski's rifle cracked. 2 more Germans down. Then chaos, shouting, movement, grenades exploding in the snow, white eruptions. We poured fire into the valley. The Germans scattered, disappeared into the trees, went silent. Then nothing. Just snow falling, and the certainty that we were surrounded. 2 hours passed. The snow kept falling, heavy and steady, covering bodies, covering tracks, covering everything. The Germans had gone completely dark. No movement, no sound. I scanned the landscape through my scope, saw nothing but white. But I knew they were there. 80+ men in prepared positions waiting for us to move or freeze or make a mistake. Kowalski crawled over, face grim. "We're finished. Can't see them, can't move. Another hour and we start losing men to cold." He looked at me. "Any ideas, farm boy?" I kept scanning, thinking. My father's voice in my head. "Snow tells you everything, Jimmy. You just gotta listen." Then I saw it. A patch of snow 30 yards downslope near a deadfall tree. Fresh powder, smooth, unmarked, but not quite right. The snow there was settled slightly differently, more compact, with a faint depression, barely visible, and the surface had a different texture, like it had melted slightly and refrozen. Body heat. Someone was under that deadfall, had been there for at least 20 minutes, long enough for their body heat to rise through the wood and earth and snow, changing how the powder behaved. I shifted my scope, another patch, 40 yards out. Same telltale signs, slight settling, subtle texture change, a depression that didn't match the surrounding terrain. Then another, and another. I started counting. 7 positions within 70 yards, all invisible to the naked eye, all betrayed by the snow. My heart hammered. They're everywhere. I grabbed Kowalski, pulled him close, pointed. "There, under the deadfall. See how the snow's settled?" He squinted. "I don't see anything." I kept my voice steady. "The snow's not sitting level. It's compressed where someone's body heat came through. Been there long enough to melt the bottom layer, refreeze as ice, then fresh powder settled over it. Creates a depression. Texture's different too, shinier, like glazed ice." Kowalski stared harder. "Jesus Christ, you can see that?" I nodded. "My old man taught me. Used to track deer beds this way, find where they slept by how the snow melted around them. I scanned again, counting. Sarge, they're all around us. I can see at least 20 positions, maybe more. His face went from grim to something else, predatory. Can you mark them? I nodded. Every single one. He gathered the men, 8 left, Danny included, whispered the plan. I would identify targets by their thermal signature in the snow, call out positions. The riflemen would fire on my mark, coordinated, simultaneous, hit them before they knew they'd been spotted. Then displace immediately, because the Germans would return fire at muzzle flashes. It was insane. It was desperate. It was the only option we had. Danny looked at me, eyes wide. You can really see them? I met his gaze. I can see where their bodies are warming the ground. That's enough. I began calling targets, voice low, clinical, like I was calling out deer positions to my father. Deadfall, 30 yards, 11 o'clock, slight depression, compressed snow, thermal melt pattern. Mark it, Kowalski confirmed. Marked. I called out 7 positions, then 3 more. The Germans had no idea they'd been spotted. They were waiting for us to freeze, to panic, to move. They didn't know the snow was betraying them. Kowalski gave the signal. 9 rifles fired simultaneously. 7 Germans died instantly, shot through their concealment, through snow and wood and earth, never seeing who killed them. The survivors erupted from their hides, panicked, returning fire at ghosts. But we'd already displaced, moving through pre-planned routes, using the falling snow as cover. I kept scanning, kept calling. Stone outcrop, 60 yards, 2 o'clock. I see 3 thermals, concentrated heat, multiple bodies. Kowalski relayed. 3 riflemen fired, 2 Germans dropped, the 3rd ran, stumbling through drifts, and Danny's rifle cracked. Down. The Germans were shouting now, confused, trying to coordinate. But I had the advantage. I could see them. They couldn't see me. Every time they went to ground, every time they hid, their bodies warmed the earth beneath the snow. Slight, subtle, but enough. Cluster of 5, 70 yards behind the berm. Heavy thermal signature. They've been there a while. Snow's almost completely settled. We concentrated fire. The berm exploded in gunfire and screaming. It took them an hour to understand what was happening. That somehow, impossibly, we could see through snow and concealment. That hiding wasn't working. That the landscape itself was betraying them. Panic set in. Men started abandoning positions, running, trying to get out of thermal range. But running made them visible. We picked them off methodically, moving targets in white landscape, easy shots for men who'd grown up hunting. Some Germans tried counter tactics, piling snow over their positions, insulating themselves. But that created different patterns, unnatural mounds that stood out. I marked them anyway. Others tried to move constantly, never staying in one place long enough to leave a thermal signature. But movement in heavy snow was exhausting. They slowed, stopped, warmed the ground, died. 3 hours in, Danny took a round through the shoulder, bone shattered, bleeding heavy. He went down screaming. I dragged him behind cover, packed the wound with snow to slow the bleeding. He grabbed my coat, voice shaking. How many left? I scanned. Too many, maybe 40. He laughed, blood on his teeth. We're gonna die here, aren't we? I didn't answer, just kept scanning, kept calling targets. Kowalski lost a man, PFC Martinez, to a German sniper who'd stayed mobile, never in one place long enough to leave a signature. Martinez died instantly, shot through the head. We kept fighting. The snow kept falling. The temperature kept dropping. My fingers were numb, face frozen, But I kept my eye on the scope, kept reading the snow, kept calling the dead. By hour 4, the German position collapsed. Too many casualties, too much confusion, too much terror at being shot by an enemy who could somehow see through perfect concealment. The survivors broke and ran, 20, maybe 30 men, fleeing downslope into the valley, abandoning weapons, abandoning wounded, just running. I let them go. We were out of ammunition, out of strength, hypothermic. Danny was unconscious. Bleeding stopped, but barely breathing. We'd killed 87 men, confirmed by Kowalski's count of bodies visible in the snow. Lost 3 of our own. Martinez, another man named Stevens, who'd frozen to death during the fighting, and Danny, who wouldn't make it to nightfall. We held the ridge until dark, then carried our dead and wounded downslope. Danny died during the evacuation, just stopped breathing, eyes open, snow settling on his face. I closed them, kept moving. We reached American lines 32 hours later, 6 men frostbitten, delirious, carrying 3 bodies. The battalion intelligence officer debriefed us while medics cut frozen boots off our feet. Kowalski gave the report: enemy strength 80 plus, confirmed casualties 87, friendly casualties 3 killed, 2 wounded. Method: designated marksmen located concealed positions through thermal snow signatures. The officer looked up. He what? Kowalski repeated it. The officer wrote it down, didn't believe a word, filed the report. The next day, a captain from Division Intelligence interviewed me personally, asked me to explain the tactic. I described it, how body heat changes snow behavior, creates telltale patterns, persists long enough to mark positions. He took notes, sent it up the chain. 2 weeks later, I heard the Army was testing thermal observation techniques for winter warfare. Nothing came of it. The war ended before they could implement it. The 4th Infantry Division kept grinding through the Hurtgen until February. The Germans withdrew, the dams were taken, the Allies crossed the Roer. Strategic victory. But the cost, 33,000 American casualties in that forest alone, made it Pyrrhic. My action didn't change the strategic picture, it just saved 6 men on one frozen ridge. In the grand calculus of war, that barely registered. Of the 6 survivors, 4 made it to VE Day. Kowalski was wounded during the Rhineland campaign, lost his left arm. He survived, went home to Texas, never spoke about the Hurtgen. 1 rifleman was killed in April during the final push into Germany. Another took shrapnel during the Ruhr pocket and was evacuated. I rotated out to February. Severe frostbite, all 10 toes blackened, 3 fingers on my left hand compromised. I spent 6 weeks in a hospital in England, underwent surgery, kept 8 toes and all my fingers. The doctor said I was lucky. I didn't feel lucky. The technique I used, reading thermal signatures through snow settlement patterns, never made it into official training manuals. It was too specialized, too dependent on specific weather conditions, too difficult to teach. A few intelligence officers took note. Some cold weather warfare specialists incorporated elements of it into doctrine. But by and large, it remained what it had always been, a hunting trick from rural Iowa, used once in anger, then forgotten. I went home in June 1945. My family threw a welcome party. My father shook my hand, looked at me hard, asked no questions. We went hunting that November, deer season, like old times. I couldn't do it. I lined up a shot on a 10-point buck, finger on the trigger, and saw Danny's face. Saw the Germans erupting from the snow. Saw 87 men who died because I could read patterns my father taught me. I lowered the rifle, went home, never hunted again. I married a school teacher named Ruth, had 2 daughters, worked the family farm. I'd wake up some winter mornings, see fresh snow falling, and just stand at the window, staring, seeing things that weren't there. Ruth learned not to ask. I got a letter in 1958 from Kowalski, just a few lines. Still thinking about that day? Still don't understand how you saw them? Grateful you did. Hope you're well. I wrote back, I'm well. Hope you are too. We never corresponded again. In 1973, a military historian researching winter warfare tactics contacted me, asked about December 16, 1944, asked about the thermal signature technique. I explained it over the phone, patient, detailed, clinical. He was amazed. This should be in the manuals. This should be taught. I said, maybe. Then, but I hope it never needs to be. I used to say that snow remembers everything. Where you walked, where you rested, where you bled. It holds the heat of living things and shows it to anyone who knows how to look. My father taught me that. Taught me to read winter landscapes like a language, to see traces that other men missed. I thought it was just about hunting deer. Turns out it was about hunting men too. I never wanted to be good at killing. Never wanted to know that I could look at a blank field of snow and see 87 ghosts waiting to die. But war doesn't care what you want. It just asks what you can do. And if you can do something, it makes you do it. Over and over until it breaks something inside you that never quite heals. Danny didn't have to die. Stevens didn't have to die. Martinez didn't have to die. But they did. And the 87 Germans, boys, most of them, probably scared, probably homesick, probably just trying to survive like everyone else. They didn't have to die either. But I killed them because I could see them and they couldn't see me. Because my father taught me to read snow. Because war is about small advantages and cold mathematics and doing what you have to do to keep your brothers alive. I carried that for 39 years, carried Danny's face, carried the weight of 87 men I killed from distance clinically like I was culling deer, carried the knowledge that I was good at it, too good, and that scared me more than anything that happened in the Hurtgen. The forest is quiet now. Snow still falls there every December, covers the same ground, settles over the same earth where men bled and died and disappeared. And if you knew how to look, really look, maybe you'd still see the traces, faint, subtle, the memory of heat in cold ground. But no one looks anymore. No one remembers, except the men who were there, and we're almost all gone now. Soon it'll just be snow, falling, remembering, keeping its secrets. That's the story. 87 men, 1 sniper, and a winter trick that should have stayed in the deer woods.